In this video, we're going to show you the assembly of the Baladonia cast iron floor router table. This table is the ultimate in heavy duty routing tables available in Australia today. Take two legs and lay them out so the bottom of the legs are pointing towards you. Because the stand is square in shape, there are two sets of 4 cross braces that are the same length. In each set, there are 2 cross braces that have 4 holes on only one face, and these are the lower supports. The braces that have holes on both faces of the bracket are for the top of the stand. The legs have threaded holes on 2 sides. Make sure the holes are pointing up and outward for mounting the braces. Take one of the longer, lower leg braces and lay it on top of the legs. The folded edge should be pointed towards the bottom of the stand. Use an M6 bolt and flat washer and screw the cross braces in place. At this stage, just tighten all bolts by hand. Flip the stand over and bolt the same length cross brace suitable for the top of the stand in place. Make sure the folded edge with the slots is orientated towards the top of the stand. Once you have bolted both cross braces on, set this frame aside and work on the second frame. Follow the same steps to complete this second one. Now that you've put 2 braces on the second frame, flip it over and bolt on the shorter braces to this frame. Follow the same orientation for these 4 braces as per the other braces you've already assembled. Flip the second frame with the 4 braces attached so it is upside down on the bench and bring your first frame back up onto the bench. It should take no time to bolt this all together. You can screw the feet on now. Make sure you put a lock nut on the threaded rod before screwing in place so you can use this to lock the height once it's level on the ground. Flip the stand back over and attach the first router bit holder to the side of the stand using another 2 M6 bolts and washers. You can tighten these bolts up completely immediately. Our next job is to assemble the wheels. Screw the 2 black mounting brackets onto the stand as shown with the bracket pointing towards the ground. There are 3 washers for the wheel assembly. Put one on either side of the wheel and then install it into the black bracket. This should be a snug fit so that the wheel suspends itself in place. To line up the holes accurately, you can see that we have slid a screwdriver through from one side to the other. This orientates all the components so the bolt slides smoothly through to complete the assembly. Put the bolt with the last flat washer under the bolt head, then slide it through and tighten the nylock nut on the other side. Do it up so that the nylock nut is engaged but the wheel still spins freely. Flip the stand around and attach the second router bit organiser as per the previous one. We now need to get the caster assembly onto this side. The black cross brace screws on using the hex drive bolts with flat washers. The folded edges should be pointing towards you. Now with all these on, take the smaller second black bracket and put it into position behind the bracket and ochre cross brace. An M6 hex drive bolt fits through the hole in the ochre support and passes through the top of the black bracket to bolt it in place. You can now bring the caster up and screw it in place from behind the black bracket and tighten all the bolts up completely. Put the stand on the ground and make sure that it is square and level. Because the factory checks all components, this should be a very minor adjustment. Also adjust the feet so they are level and there is a 1 to 2 mm clearance between the floor and the casters, so when the pedal is engaged it can be moved around easily as necessary. We're now showing you how to assemble the optional dust collection box. If you haven't got one of these, you can skip ahead if you would like. We highly recommend getting one of these to control the dust in your workshop though. Take the front and back and rest them upside down. The front stays in place easier with the door open as shown. The top has slots, whereas the bottom has threaded screw holes. Screw the 4 holes to hold the front and back on. Please note that there are 3 screws that are slightly longer than the rest in the hardware pack. Don't use these as these hold on the dust outlet. Check and make sure you put the box ends on the correct side. When upright looking at it from the front, the side that has the twisting steel opening for ventilation should be on the left hand side, and the side that has the plastic outlet for the router cord should be on the right. Screw these 2 ends on at the bottom, then proceed to screw the remaining corners in as shown to complete the box assembly. Once they've all been done, take the dust outlet and screw it in place using the 3 slightly longer screws.
I'm going to show you how to assemble the Baladonia super flat fence. These are available in 2 different lengths, 27 inch for the benchtop router table and 32 inch for the floor router tables. All of the components are made out of aircraft grade aluminium, so you've got the fence and then you've got the 2 mounting brackets. What I'm going to do now is assemble the mounting brackets and then we'll look at assembling the fence.
Take one of the underside table mounting brackets and a side fence mount. You need to attach 3 of the zinc plated M8 bolts with a washer under the bolt head and with the square nut loosely tightened as shown in the slots on the side fence mount. Once that's done, get your underside table mount bracket and slide the channel of this bracket over the 3 square nuts. The edge of the bracket with the 3 mounting slots cut into it should be facing towards the top vertically and away horizontally from the side fence mount. Repeat the same steps with the second bracket.
So once you've assembled the mounting brackets, what you need to do now is put the sub-fences onto the main fence itself. The way to do that is just to take 3 of these large bolts and slide them into the T-track in the back of the sub-fences.
You push the bolts through the holes on the fence, and as I flip it around you can see them protruding through the back of the fence. Put 1 washer and a plastic knob on the 2 outer bolts and loosely tighten. Repeat the process with the other sub-fence. You can now slide the dust outlet port onto the 2 innermost bolts, then repeat the same step as before. Slide on a flat washer and a plastic knob to hold it all in place. Lastly, you need to attach the orange finger guard to the front of the fence. Do this by taking the T-bolt and sliding one of the plastic washers over the bolt. There are 2 sides to this plastic washer, the side with rounded corners on the track that goes on the side of the guard, and the other side with the square edge track that goes on the side of the fence. Once you've done both, slide the bolt heads into the T-slot on the front of the fence to the correct position and tighten as appropriate. The fence and stand has been assembled, so we now need to get these onto the tabletop. We are showing this step on the benchtop router table. Unpack the tabletop and lie it face down on the bench. On the larger table there are a set of 4 holes running along each edge of the short side of the table. These are for mounting the fence brackets. Take the first fence side mount and lay it down over the 4 threaded holes. Align the bracket parallel with the edge of the table and tighten the 4 hex drive bolts to lock it into position. We're now looking at the larger floor tabletop. Here we are showing the installation of the optional sliding frame brackets. There are 3 slots running further in from the edge of the table than the fence mounts. These are located directly under the miter and T-track slots. Use the 3 included hex drive bolts and washers to screw one side in place, then repeat for the other side. If you have bought the dust collection box, we recommend fitting this now before fitting the stand. Lay it down over the 6 threaded lugs surrounding the mounting plate aperture and screw the bolts in by hand first. Make sure you use a spring, then flat washer on the bolt before screwing it in. Once they're all on, tighten these up completely using a spanner. We're now on to mounting the stand. This is held in place using 4 bolts on each corner. There are 2 slots close to the corner on the short edge of the stand. Use the inner of the 2 slots to align and bolt the stand on. You're going to need a friend for this step to flip the assembly over now, as it weighs close to 70 kilos. Clean the rust inhibiting grease from the tabletop using a normal cloth and methylated spirits. Make sure that you get in and clean both the miter and the T-slots now so that the grease doesn't harden and increase friction when in use. There are a total of 8 self-leveling screws that need to be installed roughly now. Just screw them in place for the time being, awaiting the router mounting plate. This step and the next one is being shown on the benchtop version, but it is the same on the larger table. After cleaning the table, you need to make sure that the fence mounting brackets are level with the surface of the tabletop. They can be slightly above the surface of the table, but never below the surface. Check the front and the back of the bracket and then tighten the 2 outer bolts and finally the last central bolt to lock it in place. Once you've done this on both sides, you can slide your fence onto the brackets. Always make sure that the included flat washer for the fence locking knobs is above the fence. There is minimal clearance in the channel of the fence mounts, and without the washer you will mark the channel. If you've bought the optional sliding extension frame, we need to finish the assembly of this now. Slide the zinc plated bar so the large hole stamped in on one end is pointing out of the mounting bracket. There is a small screw that needs to be installed in the bar under the table so that it doesn't slide out too far when in use. Also install the locking knob in place on both sides and test the sliding bar. Put the large round black steel nut into the hole stamped as shown. Take the frame support and screw it into place on the end of the sliding bars. Check that it is level with the top and then we can move on to finishing the stand assembly. Take the black bracket and install it on the stand where you would prefer to store the miter guard and hex drive router lip wrench. The location of this is up to you, so try it out, and if you're not happy with it, move it around until you are. Also install the switch where you would prefer as shown by screwing it in place to clamp it around a stand leg. Here we're showing the attachment of the 2.5 inch dust hose from the fence to the 4 inch outlet on the optional dust collection box. This makes hooking up an extractor easy and efficient to have extraction at 2 points on the tail. You will see me pointing to 2 small lines scribed on the front and back edge of the table. These show the central line over the plate opening for quick and easy alignment. Align the fence with these scribes, then adjust the movable scales to line up to 0. At any time you can realign the scales as necessary to create new reference points for measuring fence travel. This is a very handy feature of these tables. Now being shown is the installation of the optional sliding fence stop. These slide in the top track and can be flipped completely out of the way of the face of the fence when not in use. Also recommended are the vertical and horizontal feather boards. If these were not included in your router table, along with the stock, these are available separately for purchase. You can also use these on other machines as they use standard mounting hardware. So there you have it, the completed Baladonia cast iron floor router table assembly. We can guarantee that with minimal maintenance, this table will last you a lifetime of enjoyable bench mounted routing.